Welcome back, guys. Today on the podcast, successful people possess this one trait. It probably could be at least two, but I'm going to talk about one specific trait that successful people have that really makes them successful. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever thought about or wondered about being more successful than you are? Have you ever? Or have you thought about doing something that you weren't quite sure if you can do it, but you want to do it? Have you thought about that? Look, if you're anything like me, you probably have. And so today, as I was in the gym, I was working out, I was leaving the gym and I heard it. Somebody whispered it in my ear and said, "This is what successful people have." Now go tell it. So guys, thanks so much for joining me. We are episode 974, 26 more episodes until 1,000. Make sure you're here the week of April the 27th. We're going to be having a ball. Just celebrating 1,000 episodes of the Account for Life podcast. Who knows where we're going from there, but I do know this. God has blessed us with just having a voice and having an opportunity to talk about something that I didn't know I was passionate about until he gave it to me. So, man, today, this successful trait. Now, that's why I said in the beginning, it could be two. So I'm going to talk about this first trait that I know is very specific to successful people. And it was in a conversation that Bill Gates was having, I think, with Warren Buffett, and I think Bill Gates' father. They were at an event, and some people were asking some questions about being successful. And they said, "Hey, well, what's the one thing?" So now, I know that they could say this, the one that I'm going to share as well, but this is what they said. They said that focus. They said it was focus that got me here. It was focus that really helped me to be successful. Now, here's what I do know something about Bill Gates. A couple things about Bill Gates. I was watching a documentary on him, and he talks about how whenever he really wants to get something done, he'll go away. He'll go away to I think he said he would go to a cabin or somewhere. He'll take some books, take a notebook. Nobody's coming, no phone, nothing. It's just him, nature, and him. Focus. So he goes and focusing specifically on something he has to do. Now you probably experienced focus. You probably experienced the fact that you've done something in life and you had to focus. If you went to college, at some point you had to get focused. You may not have been focused. I may not have been focused the whole time, but I focused enough to get out of there, right? So focus is absolutely at the top of the list. So focus is technically 1, 2, because imagine this. It's April the 1st. It's April the 1st, 2024. And we've already lost 1/4 of the year. I say lost because it's gone. It's not coming back. We've already lost it. So if we've already lost that, then now it's like, oh, wow, I got to get even more focused. Me personally, I've got to get even more focused. And that focus is what's going to help me to get to the next level. I already know I'm successful. Because when I heard the voice, it says, "This is what you used, and this is what has actually made you successful. This is really the key for you." And this is what it was: self-motivation. Self-motivation. This trait of self-motivation is one of these things where nobody has to motivate you. No, you don't need a coach. You don't need a friend. You don't need anything. You just have you and you and you. And you wake up in the morning or you make a decision, you get focused. But here's the thing about self-motivation. You keep doing it over and over and over. And as I walked out of the gym, I said, man, I must be self-motivated, because it's not one of these things that you like when you're doing it, when you're in the pain of stressing your muscles and getting tired. It doesn't really feel good, but it feels good. It's like it doesn't feel good, but it feels good. So it's weird how pain feels good, but it doesn't. So self-motivation is one of these things that when you have self-motivation, and as I heard the self-motivation, I said, well, is that something that can be learned? I asked this question. Is that something that can be learned? Can that be taught? And I was like, I don't know if it could be taught. But I do know that there are people who are self-motivated who may not know how to stay motivated. They may not know how to stay inspired. They may not know how to keep going, but they feel like they have a self-motivation. So I don't know that it could be taught, because remember, it's from within. That's what self is. Self is from within. You already feel like you can do something. So if we were thinking about, hey, I want to get to the next level in my finances, I want to get to the next level in my health, I want to get to the next level in my relationships, I want to get to the next level in something that I'm doing. Jay, well, what do I need to focus on? Ah, you see, keyword, I got to focus. I do have to get focused, right? So that means that I have to singularly look at something. I have to be singularly focused on something. Then from there, I gotta have self-motivation. You know, it's interesting because in January 1st, something happened to me. I heard the voice say, start doing 500 push-ups. I was like, look, maybe 100 push-ups, 200 push-ups a day, but I didn't do them all the time. And I remember one day thinking, I was like, man, that's a lot. Man, like, that it gets a little challenging to have to do more than 100, really. So 500 push-ups. I said, okay, 500 push-ups. Do them every day this year. Every day this year. I'm like, every day. And January 1st, I said, I'm going to do it. And I didn't do it. I really was not motivated to do it. It was not something that I wanted to do. So the thing about self-motivation is you can make a decision to want to do something, have the self-motivation, and still not do it. I did not want to do it. And that first day of January, I did not do any push-ups. Day 2, January 2nd came. I knew I had to do them. I said, honey, I'm supposed to do 500 push-ups today. Can you just like get on me about doing these 500 push-ups? She said, well, you better get to it. I think I did 300. And then the next day, she was like, did you do them? Then I think I did the 400. And then by day 4, January 4th, I'd finally gotten to 500. And then when I put it out into the world on January 8th, that's when everything changed. Have not missed a day. Have not missed a day. Probably, I think I did miss one day. I think I did miss one day after January 4th, but out of the whole first quarter, just say I missed three days. The whole quarter, maybe. The whole quarter, but except for one day. There's only one day I didn't do any. And this self-motivation is interesting because, it's crazy because last night I was kind of sitting around, kind of hanging out. I had already done like 150, like at the gym, and it's 9:30. And it was like, I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't do it. I'm like, man, I still got 350 push-ups. So I go upstairs and I did something, and I was like, man, I still got push-ups to do. I wanted to go to bed. I wanted to go to bed at 10 o'clock. She says, you still got 350 push-ups left? So I started doing the push-ups. I get the push-ups done and, get into bed or whatever. Self-motivation. What was driving that? What's driving that self-motivation of completion? You ever wanted to complete something? See, if you're the kind of person who likes to complete things, then you could easily do things like that. Because now I'm not necessarily the completion guy, even though I will complete things. I'm just a person that when I start something, I probably will keep doing it. I have a nature where I like to keep doing it. I like to just bang on the same thing over and over. It's kind of like eating. Jenny be like, man, you always just want to eat beef, red meat, or steak, or, roasts. Just like what I like. I don't like, it's not that I don't want other things. It's like, well, why am I gonna bombard myself with so many things? See, because when you become singularly focused, what happens, you realize you keep moving stuff out of the way. Did you know it takes, when you use brain power, when you use the power to think, you are taking away you are taking away from your energy levels. So the more you have to think, the more tired you become. Yeah, study it. Look that up. So when you don't have to make a lot of decisions and you know exactly what you have to do, it makes the day and makes the life go by so much simpler. So successful people do two things. They focus and they stay focused. The second thing they do is that they're self-motivated. Sometimes focus is feeding off of the self-motivation, because without the self-motivation, the focus will fade. And without the focus, the self-motivation will fade. So those two things technically are like one thing. Focus self-motivation, focus. Those two things are like one thing when they're working together. They are creating for you the life, the opportunities, everything that you desire. So today, if you're the kind of person to say to yourself, I'm successful, and there's something that I know I'm going to be even more successful doing, what do we need to do? We need to bring together self-motivation and focus. By bringing together self-motivation and focus, you take something that could potentially be hard and you could potentially make it simple. Simple. I call that the easy way, right? The easy way. I remember a few years ago, I'm about to let you go. A few years ago, I went to, I think it was like January. It was January of 2020. And I don't know where it came from. I was like, the easy way, the easy way, the easy way. And I had this little framework, the easy way. Or it was easy meant educate, application, system, you. When you educate yourself on something and you apply the education, you then create a system that develops you. Easy. I'm going to say it one more time. When you educate yourself on something and you apply the education, you create a system that develops you. Easy way. Listen, educate, apply, systematize, develop you. Guys, this is the Account for Life podcast, and I'm Jay Moore, the Healthy Accountant. My life's mission and purpose is to help people like you become successful with self-motivation, with focus, and by using tools like the easy way. So don't forget that tool: education, application, systematize, develops you, and you become the best, not even the best version, you become you. Become the version of you that you always desired to be. So guys, thank you for joining me for this episode of the Account for Life podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're watching on Spotify or iTunes, make sure you subscribe there. Come on over to YouTube as well, subscribe. And we look forward to serving you. God bless you. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.
This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.